Now, what is the setup here? I mean, who's your boss?
God.
What?
My boss is God. I'm an angel. I'm one of the best, but I try. And I make mistakes. Guess he figures the only way I'm going to learn is by mistakes. I'm kind of new at this.
Hello. Welcome to Highway to Heaven Revisited. Hosted by Rachel Mayer and Joel Luders. With moderator Sam Hine.
For those just joining us here on the 9th episode of the comprehensive watch-through Highway to Heaven podcast, hosted by Joel Luders and Rachel Mayer. My name is Sam Hine, and I am the moderator of this podcast. Right before we began taping, I bequeathed Joel with a personal gift. Joel, you said something about, were you looking for a flamingo shirt online?
Yes, I was looking at different types of button-up shirts, and I came across some that had flamingos on them. My family lives in Florida. We went to SeaWorld. One of my favorite incidents in my life was when we were walking around SeaWorld, and then around the corner came a herd of flamingo, otherwise known as a flamboyance of flamingos. And we were surrounded by flamingos, and they were sassy and friendly, and I felt like I was in a cartoon world. And so when I came across some dress shirts that had flamencos on them, flamencos as they say in Spain, the memory came back, and I said to myself, I want to own nothing but flamenco shirts. Not flamenco shirts, because those would be big ones that you'd play a guitar to.
Be careful. People are going to start sending you a bunch of flamenco shirts.
So if you want to send me...
We don't have a P.O. box set up yet, guys. Hold on. All right, well, on today's episode, we're in the double digits, right? This is season 1, episode 11. We're going to get to what happens, but I wanted to be on microphone while I try for the very first time Astronaut ice cream.
I'm sure our listeners all remember, but on our second podcast, we were discussing Astronaut ice cream, which I had, and neither Joel nor Sam had before. So I found this on the internet, and it does look like exactly like what I remembered.
I am opening a Neapolitan ice cream sandwich, freeze-dried, ready-to-eat space food, it says. It has a picture of one of the lunar astronauts with a reflection of another astronaut and the lunar module and the American flag in his reflective visor.
And it looks like in the picture, the astronaut who's observing the other astronaut is holding a Neapolitan ice cream sandwich in his hand, although I'm not sure how he's going to eat it since it looks like the visor is down.
Okay, so I just opened up
his breath.
I ripped open the top of the plastic bag, and there's what appears to have been an ice cream sandwich.
Wow.
It has chocolate wafers, and then it has 3 distinct stripes of ice cream.
Yeah, it looks just like an ice cream sandwich.
And it feels very brittle.
It says that they had this on the Mercury mission. Astronaut ice cream was invented for NASA's Mercury mission. Enjoy this delicious treat, just like the astronauts. Available in a variety of tempting intergalactic flavors.
Here's what I think so far. From a crispy chocolate cookie standpoint, it is very satisfying as a snack.
Okay.
I like the wafer a lot.
Yeah, that's not bad. I'm kind of pleasantly surprised.
This is a delightful treat. If I was in the vacuum of space with an isolated group of people, this would be a nice dessert to have on a spaceship. So you guys are here to discuss Season 1, Episode 11. What is the title of this episode?
I don't want to say it together.
Okay.
Rachel, this is all you. What is the title of Season 1, Episode 11?
Dust Child.
Dust Child.
Yes.
Well, I know what it's probably about. Let me tell you what my nerd tells me it's about. This is about a mutant. This is about the origin story of the Spider-Man villain Sandman, a child who can turn his corporeal form into dust.
Is that a real thing?
I mean, it's in the comic books. But what this episode really is about is a child of the Dust Bowl.
That's
and
a
for
good
those
guess.
not able to see me at home, what I did very smugly is I crossed my arms and then leaned back very confidently in my chair.
And he was like, He gave that look.
I mean, that's an excellent guess, but it's not correct.
Okay, well, correct my course here, guys. Tell me where we begin.
We fade in right to the car.
Right to the car this time.
Who's driving?
John.
Jonathan's driving again.
Okay, 2 episodes in a row, Jonathan seen behind the wheel. He must have a very convincing facsimile driver's license.
He better, because Mark is asleep with his baseball hat over his eyes.
Mark wakes up. He starts asking, where are we? How far have we driven? And I can't remember exactly.
He's like, are
what
we
the
in
town
Weston?
names
Are
are.
we at New Hemsworth?
Jonathan says, no, we're in this town. And Mark's like, whoa, how long was I sleeping? And Jonathon says, oh, about an hour. And Mark's like, you drove 400 miles in an hour? I'm going to let you do the driving all the time.
Skirting the laws of physics, really.
And Jonathon just smirks.
Oh, I think he does say miracle, ain't it?
Oh, yeah, he does. Sorry.
Yes, every act of an angel is defined as a miracle.
Uh-uh.
Why haven't they been doing this before?
Do we have any proof they haven't been?
This show is just sliders. I mean, they already know how to teleport. True, it's a portal through time or something on sliders. There's some sort of device where they open a door and they jump through like a blue swirly thing every episode. If you can move a car 400 miles instead of 65 miles in an hour, you're pretty much teleporting. What are they up to? Where are we going today?
We're not sure quite yet. They're going to pull up into a gas station, and Mark does ask Jonathon, where are we going? What's going on? And Jonathon says, I'm not sure yet. He's looking a little confused, looking around, and Mark says, well, since we're at the gas station, I'm going to go get a soda.
You want anything? Any food, beverages?
And Michael Landon says, I need of no sustenance, human.
Right. John, of course, doesn't want anything, and Mark's kind of like, why'd I even ask?
So Jonathon Price has no idea where they're going so far.
Jonathon Smith?
No.
That's what I said. I'm the cult leader.
So Jonathon goes into the gas station, and Jonathon Price goes into the gas station. Mark. Joel's looking really confused.
He's not with us yet.
I said the wrong name. I just said the wrong name. Mark goes into the gas station.
He goes in, and we see a scene inside the gas station with the gas station attendant, and there's a group of Vietnamese kids asking for change. The guy won't give them any change.
And then Mark says something like, oh, I guess that means I don't get any change. You must be out of change.
Because I need change to use your vending machine. And he goes, no, it's fine. I can give you change here.
Oh, I see what's going on.
And just in case you didn't pick up on that, the gas station attendant does go on to make it clear they don't get change because of their race.
If they want it, they should go to their side of town.
So this is where the show's going to happen. There's a racist gas station owner who needs a little perspective.
Well, the problem is bigger than just the gas station attendant. The gas station attendant goes on his little racist tangent about your people came here and took all our jobs and blah, 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 blah. Mark doesn't just stand by and listen to this, though. Mark turns to the attendant and asks, where did your family come from?
Where's your family from?
Wisconsin.
No, I mean before that. Europe?
England.
Well, you better not ask an Indian for change. He might feel the way you do.
Good point.
Yeah. So this show, just for anybody who doesn't know, is a couple years out from the Vietnam War. That would have been in pretty recent history.
And if this show is from 1984, less than 10 years.
So once again, Michael Landon is just diving into the issues of the day.
I'm glad this is being explored.
It is pretty interesting that we are 25 years, give or take, down the road, and the rhetoric is
35,
basically
actually.
exactly
I hate to
the
depress
same.
you. It's 35 years.
Wow, you're right. 35. Thanks.
The kids also said thanks to Mark when they were outside.
Mark buys them sodas.
Hey kids, here, let me buy you all some sodas. Which ones do you want? Here you go. Have some colas. And then Mark buys himself a soda, which happens to be called Diet Fizz.
I think they still sell that at Sam's Club and Costco.
He's about to head back to the car. He notices something different about the car. Strapped to the roof of the car. Any idea? Any idea, Sam? What's strapped to the roof?
Strapped to the roof of the car. Is it another mode of transportation? Is it an aquatic mode of transportation?
No.
It's not a canoe. That's my guess. A canoe.
Some ladders.
Some ladders.
Okay. I guess Michael Landon got the message he was looking for.
Yep, that's what Mark kind of says to himself. Oh, ladders.
Huh.
I guess we're here, huh?
Are we doing some house painting?
You got it.
Got it. Nice.
But we're not going to get there quite yet.
Sure.
But, you know, we have to introduce a few more characters. That's
Definitely.
how this show goes.
So after the whole ladders, where do we find ourselves?
Some kids are playing soccer.
We have a dad figure. We find out his name is Richard. So Richard is coaching some teenage boys playing soccer. And it's pretty much just your average soccer montage. Somebody scores a goal. They all cheer. And then the team all comes in for a little huddle on the sidelines. They talk about upcoming practice, talk about some games. And then the coach tells them to hit those books. Remember, there's more to life than soccer, to which one of the boys says,
And girls. girls? What about girls?
And then they all laugh.
This coach, the actor, is James Whitmore Jr.
That name sounds familiar.
It should be. He's a very special quantum leaper. James Whitmore Jr. acted in 3 episodes of Quantum Leap.
Wow.
One was Mirror Image, where he played the police captain. One was in Trilogy Part 1 as the Sheriff Clayton Fuller. Third one was called 8.5 Months, where he played Bob Crockett. The next thing about James Whitmore Jr. is he directed 18 episodes of Quantum Leap,
Holy Moses.
including a 2-parter, the one about Lee Harvey Oswald, and a 3-parter.
What?
He's in the episodes Rebel Without a Clue, Leap of Faith, Piano Man, Family Man. And one more thing about James Whitmore Jr.
Wow.
He also directed Scott Bakula in episodes for 4 different television series: Quantum Leap, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Star Trek Enterprise, and NCIS New Orleans.
Wow. Yeah, I've read that guy's name on some credits before. That's why it sounds familiar. He works a lot. He's got a couple irons in the fire, this Whitmore character.
Okay, so we're at the end of soccer practice. We've got Coach Richard, son Brad, friend Larry walking back to the car, and the coach is ribbing Larry a little bit about his shoddy soccer shoes. He says, "It's about time to replace those shoes, son." And Larry's like, "I'd like to, but I can't really afford it right now." And guess what happens?
Coach goes to his wooden station wagon, opens it up, and pulls out a shoebox. And he's like, "Check these out. These might be your size."
They are. He has shoes for Larry.
Not
Everybody
even
hugs.
angel magic shoes.
No, he just like has nice guy shoes.
He sounds like a guy with a heart of gold.
Yeah. So we do see the group get in the station wagon together and they drive home. And this is when we find out that Larry is actually a next door neighbor of Richard and Brad's family. They
Okay.
pull into the driveway and we see Larry's mom out watering the flowers. And she's got a nice dress on, wearing a floral apron, very stereotypical mom looking.
Son Brad invites Larry over to look at his new railroad magazine.
Larry gets excited. He wants to.
Because he hears that there's a new Zeppelin type train in there.
A Zeppelin type train. A flying train?
No, he said Zephyr.
Zephyr.
I was just seeing if you would catch me.
Nice try, Joel.
Yeah, so he says, "Come over and check out the new Zephyr train. It's in my new train magazine." Larry's like, "Oh, yeah, that would be great." And then he's like, "Oh, I promised my mom I'd mow the lawn. I'll be over." And then Coach Dad's like,
Your mom depends on you, Larry.
"You're right, Coach. I'll go mow the lawn. Maybe I'll come by later."
Thanks for the shoes.
Runs over to the mom. The mom sees the shoebox and yells back to the coach, "Oh, thank you so much. That's so kind." They go inside. The mom, dad, son, they're all happy. The dad, though, is flipping through the mail. He's like, bills, more junk mail. There's just nothing good in the mail for me today."
And then mom comes kind of up behind him and she's smiling and holding a letter and she says, "Look what came in the mail. It came from immigration." And they both look really happy and like surprised.
Oh, okay. They're adopting a child potentially from an Asian nation.
Oh, it gets even better. Dad says, "Oh, she's finally coming."
Dear
and
Lord.
mom and dad hug. And Brad's like, who's coming, Dad? What are you talking about? Why are you so excited?
Dad's like, "Hey, Brad, wanna come sit down with me?" You know?
Brad, you know when I was in the Army? In Vietnam? I met a woman when I was in Saigon, a Vietnamese woman. I want you to understand that this is before your mom and I were married.
Go on.
Well, this woman and I lived together for a while. It was very lonely there, son. It was terrible at times. And I cared for her a great deal.
Did you know? Yes. Father told me all about her.
Anyway, son, when my tour in Nam was over, they shipped me home. The woman wrote me a letter. She had a baby, a girl. That girl is my daughter.
He didn't find out about the daughter until he was back in the United States.
And now the daughter is going to be coming to live with us.
But
Okay.
mom has known about this all along. This all happened before mom met dad, so she's cool with it.
Okay.
But you know who didn't know about it?
Poor Brad.
Poor Brad.
Yeah. Poor Brad.
I have to say, I do like mom and dad in this episode. Dad seems like a really nice guy, but they do not process this with Brad at all. They basically tell him, "You have a sister. Her name is Nguyen, and she's coming to live with us like tomorrow."
No time to think about it. My predicting brain, my sleuthery, is telling me that Brad is going to be pretty upset about this, and he might be upset to the point where he either acts out viciously or runs away.
Some of those elements are right. Some of them are close.
So we cut to the ladder car at night.
So John and Mark pull up in front of this family's house. It is nighttime. John tells Mark he won't be long. Before John gets out of the car, though, Mark is thinking of a lot of excuses why he doesn't want to be a house painter.
He says he's afraid of heights, that he's
allergic to paint.
Allergic to paint, okay.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be a painter. So just Jonathon goes up and rings this family's doorbell. Richard comes to the door, and Jonathon tells him that he's here to give him a quote on painting the house.
I hear you're looking for a house painter.
And Larry, of course, is like, huh? I mean, my wife and I mentioned that last Wednesday, but we haven't called anybody about that.
I mean, great guess. But he actually says that he has been getting bids on this job, but it's too expensive. So they decided not to go forward with it at this point. Maybe because they have a new daughter coming to live with them, too.
Sure.
But Jonathon tells him, I'll give you a good quote. I bet I can give you a quote that you'll agree with.
Yeah, my friend and I are two of the best, but we're in between jobs right now. So I'm sure we can give you a good price.
It's going to be free. It's going to be free later. I'm
Yeah, I bet
surprised
it
he
was.
didn't say, like, hey, I'm going to paint this one for free. And then when you move in 12 years and upsize, that one will be half price.
That would be true to form. And Richard says, well, if you're fair enough, you might have come along at just the right moment. To which Jonathon says, I do that sometimes.
That sounds like a classic Michael Landon moment.
So it's the next day, and John's in the room with Brad.
Like measuring stuff, which I didn't understand, but I have also never
Trying to
painted
figure out how much
houses.
paint you need.
He's painting the exterior of the house.
But he's inside measuring.
You got to figure out how big the house is.
It might have just been an excuse.
But there's this awesome model train set
Yes, of course there is.
on the table. And Brad is like cleaning up and putting parts of the train set into boxes. And John's like, hey, that's a really cool train set you got there, Is that a Zephyr?
Brad's like, yeah, my dad and my neighbor Larry and I have been working on this train set for years. And Dad said we could knock out the wall and make the room bigger for the trains, but now we can't.
Because this room's got to be used by somebody. And then his friend Larry comes over and is like, hey, dude, what are you doing? You boxing up that stuff?
And Brad's just sitting there.
We're going to get a new house guest. Why can't they sleep on the couch? It's kind of permanent.
Takes another bite of his shit sandwich.
Now, here's the part that I do want to talk about. Brad, the actor, the coach's son, is actor Billy Jane, who I thought while watching this was the kid from Big. He looks just like him, but he's not.
Interesting.
He's another child actor who was in a ton of stuff, including Cujo, Parker Lewis Can't Lose. He was one of the main characters in Parker Lewis Can't Lose.
Is that the one where a kid gets to be a secret agent or something?
I was just about a kid who was so good at high school. To me, the show reminded me of the continued adventures of
Ferris Bueller.
There it is. He was also in one of my favorite movies in high school, Just One of the Guys.
Just One of the Guys.
How would that movie hold up if we watched it right now?
What is that movie? I don't think I've never seen that movie, and I'm not sure I've heard of it.
Just One of the Guys was about this girl who poses as a boy at a school. Honestly, having watched the movie dozens of times, I can't remember why. But then, everyone, all the girls fall in love with her.
I might have seen this movie.
You probably saw it at some point.
I imagine I would have.
And Billy Zane played her brother in this. And when I saw that, I go, oh, yeah.
You can remember that?
I totally remember that
Okay.
brother, because he was the one who was like, how am I supposed to feel about this? I got my sister wearing my underwear.
But it's disappointing to have to say that he's not a leaper, unfortunately.
No.
But he does have big, brown, soulful eyes. And he's cool looking.
Which is
Excellent.
good because he's kind of got a potty mouth.
So you kind of have a feeling as a viewer where you're like, you're lucky you're cute, kid.
Yeah, yeah.
So Brad's telling his friend Larry, I've got a new sister coming. She's coming from Vietnam. Larry gets mad at Brad because his father was killed by the Vietnamese.
He was killed in the Vietnam War.
Okay, both
presumably
sides
by
of the
someone.
conflict being represented in different colors here.
Yes.
All right, let's talk about it.
What Joel and I talked about is throughout this episode, which was shot in 1984, they do use a common Asian racial slur.
Is it a word that starts with a G?
Yeah. And I don't want to say this throughout the episode.
Sure.
Personally. For me, it's going to be pretty easy to just say what happened without actually throwing this word out there.
Okay, trigger warnings. The word is gook.
Yes.
It is not a good word.
No.
Don't use this in real life.
Don't go around
You're not
saying
allowed
it.
to say it. And it's unfortunate that it was on broad broadcast television in 1984.
It is tricky because clearly it was not problematic enough to be censored on primetime television in 1984. But at the same time, how do you tell a racially charged story? You can't just tiptoe around the word. I don't really know what the solution would have been because it does contribute to the storytelling.
The word is used as the acid. So the word does have the power that it's not like saying like, hey, everybody talks like this. It's totally normal. When it's used, it's the acid that deflates the souffle of the scene, triggers the next thing to happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, these are fictional tales. So in order for a racist character to be portrayed, one of the tenets of a racist person is using racial slurs. The staff here at Highway to Heaven Revisited want to go on record saying that we do not use this word in our real life. We shall not use it ad nauseum during this podcast. I believe the one time I just uttered it will be the only time we say it. But if we want to pinpoint those moments when the word is said, we could just mention it, I guess. But we're not going to say that word again.
Mm-hmm. That sounds fair.
I was thinking about this on the way over here, how to address it. The thing that always bothered me when I was listening to something and I would hear someone say like, oh, we don't use the XP word. I'm using XP because that isn't, as far as I know, mean anything. But you'd be like, oh, we don't use the XP word. And you're like, ooh, what's the XP word mean?
I have to Google that immediately.
I don't like it because you kind of give this magical power to it in a way. And then there's arguments of like, oh, if you dance around it, well, you are just forcing people to put the word in their mind. But at the same time, I think it should just be put away.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we shall not perpetuate the use of this word moving forward into the future.
I brought it up right then because to finish our scene with Larry and Brad, Larry, whose father has been killed in the Vietnam War, finishes their conversation by throwing out a couple good slurs and saying, I can't believe that type of person is going to live with you. They killed my dad. Brad doesn't know what to do.
Brad's just mostly perplexed.
He tries to defend his dad and say, well, those types of people were from this part of Vietnam. It's like trying to differentiate between the North and the South of Vietnam, trying to justify it somehow. But Brad's not happy about the situation either. So now he's suddenly having to like defend a choice that he's mad about.
He probably feels like he got hit by a Zephyr with this brand new news. No big train room, sucker. Your new sister's coming tomorrow.
And then his best friend, who Brad wants him to be like, I'm sorry that happened, Brad. That sucks. Instead just throws some more bombs his way and Brad's left just with nobody on his side.
You have a person in a race that I detest moving into this house. As your best friend, I'm never coming back to this house again.
Basically.
The enemy is inside.
Yep.
Nice knowing you, Brad.
Sorry, your sister killed my dad. He doesn't really say that, but that's what he's implying.
Definitely.
All right, so we need a little comic relief here.
Yeah, I would say so far this is an action-packed, fun episode. So tell me more, guys.
So we're at the Bachelor Hotel. Mark walks in complaining about his back. Apparently he's been painting all day.
Yeah, Mark's not used to that kind of manual labor.
Just sitting around in his police cruiser is what he used to do, maybe pushing papers.
Certainly not being on a ladder painting a house all day. But so Mark's kind of speculating on this new contraption he's seen advertised on TV that hangs a person upside down. And it's supposed to hang you upside down and give you some relief from your back pain.
Some inversion. Is it like sort of a table that swings over? Like you strap yourself to a gurney that's on a hinge?
Well, you know what, Sam? I don't know because you don't need an inversion machine when you have God.
All you have to do is say, God, I wish my back felt better.
Oh, God, I wish I were hanging upside down right now. Hey, this feels kind of good. Thanks.
Yeah, well, don't thank me. I didn't do anything.
Wait, I mean, the boss did it?
Mm-hmm. Okay, I think I'm going to take a little walk. I'll see you later.
Yeah, you go ahead. I'm just going to hang around here. Hey, you get it? Hang around here.
I got it. I'll see you later.
Hey, that feels a lot better. Okay, that's enough. I said that's enough. Hello? Jonathon! Jonathon!
See, that's where the terrifying scenario comes into play, where it's just like this omniscient force has flipped me over, and here I am trapped in some sort of like force field.
See, I would think that maybe God, because he's all powerful, might have issues about scale. And if he's pulled me up to the ceiling, what's to stop him from pulling me and my atoms up through the rafters till I get like just cheese grated through the atoms?
I would hope God would know better than to do that.
Then there's a calamity of noise and people and television reporters, and they're at the airport.
Oh, yeah, we're at the airport. Richard, Brad, and Mom are at the airport to pick up their new daughter/sister.
This is a hot news story in town.
It is, in fact. There's a news team there.
They're like, Brad, what's it like to have a new sister?
Brad's not happy about being interviewed.
No, he's trying not to say, I think my parents hate me because I wasn't worthy of knowing this before yesterday.
So then we get to meet Nguyen. Nguyen comes walking out with a flight attendant. She kind of crouches back when the flash bulbs go off. She's just acting very scared, sort of cowering in the arms of the flight attendant, hiding behind her suitcase.
Reminded me of like when you bring a new cat to a house and they're like, oh, okay, what do I need to be worried about?
So then Richard, the dad, walks up to her and he's very emotional. He's tearing up. And then he goes, I'm your dad. And then Nguyen rushes into his arms and they give each other a big hug.
I sense an American-style makeover coming on.
Oh, of course. But first we need a little more painting, right?
Yeah, so
Jonathan and Mark painting.
Mark is singing.
He's doing his Swedish chef impression on a ladder up there.
He's wearing his painter's whites. He's got his little white hat on.
John's walking away from the painting and Mark's like, wait, where are you going? We got some painting to do. John's like, I got to give someone a ride. John just like looks at him and smiles, and then behind him you see someone getting into a car and you hear
more car magic. So it's Mom and Nguyen in the car.
It's always the cars.
So John walks over to them and he offers them a ride.
And of course they do the polite thing where they say, oh no, I don't want to bother you. We have to do a lot of shopping in town. And Jonathan's like, I've got nothing but time. Mark's doing the painting.
I'm great at suggesting dresses that would look good on women that I don't have to buy for them.
Right. I didn't even think about that. Jonathan's probably excited about this outing.
We're at the clothing shop.
Nguyen's trying on clothes, and the first outfit Nguyen tries on is jeans, a cute little denim vest over a short sleeve Western style shirt. She's digging this outfit. She comes out and she asks Mom and Jonathan what they think of it, and they're all like, yeah, you look great. What do you think? And she says, I look like a cowboy.
I'm sure the scene goes on, but was there sort of a jump cutting montage showing a selection of different looks?
Actually, we only get 2 different looks. So we get this cute little Western look, and then Mom gives Nguyen some more clothes to try on. So she just goes back in the dressing room.
So we don't get the full-on 80s montage fashion treatment that we get in many other shows and films of the time.
No, we need to introduce a little more drama.
Yes, so far the last few scenes have been far less racism than the scenes prior to those. So I'm sure we're probably getting pretty close to some new racism in the storyline.
Yeah, it has been a little while.
So at this point, Nguyen's in the changing room. The widow from next door comes over.
And she doesn't know about Nguyen.
Oh, no, she knows.
Okay.
She knows.
This sounds like a loaded gun.
She knows.
Jeanette, hi. Hi. How's your girl working out? Nguyen? Oh, she is a doll. Has she gotten the hang of using an American vacuum cleaner yet? What? Well, you're the envy of every woman on the block with that girl. None of us have a maid.
What you're talking about?
Oh, what other reason would you have for bringing your husband's illegitimate daughter into your house?
Jeanette, Nguyen is my daughter now. And anyone who can't accept that is not welcome in my house.
Well, that's just fine with me. Why didn't you ask her if her mother's the one who threw the hand grenade that killed my husband in Saigon?
Neighbor woman kind of storms out. And then the mom is talking to Jonathan, and she goes on to say, I can't believe it. I've known that woman for years. How can she have so much hate for a little girl she doesn't even know? And Jonathan says,
people tend to hate what they don't know.
The only reason to bring an illegitimate child of a mixed race into your household is to make them a servant in the household.
Free-made.
Good
Lord. I don't think there's a logic behind it. I think she's just taking all of whatever scraps she can see next door and just trying to whittle them down into the sharpest knife she can.
And it sounds like all the wives on the block have been gossiping, too, about this new daughter. So I'm sure this is just all built out of their conversations.
Brad's parents have really made a decision that's going to affect
It's
every
interesting.
facet of their life. life here.
It's interesting that they decided not to tell anyone about this, apparently, before it happened. There is one important detail. At the end of this scene, we cut to a shot of Nguyen, who's come out of the dressing room and is now wearing a very young-looking pink ruffly dress that reminded me of dresses I wore when I was probably 5 years old in the 80s. But she has apparently heard this conversation, so she's just looking confused and upset.
I think her dress was probably the height of 1984 girls' fashion.
It probably was.
But I feel like it was supposed to make the audience go, oh, look how sweet and American she is.
What a sweet little girl.
It is a bit of an odd choice to me that the daughter shows up fluent enough in English to understand the catty conversations that are occurring behind her back.
I don't think she knows a lot of English. When she looks at herself in the mirror, she just says, cowboy. And then when she turns to John, she goes, John-like? So, I mean, she is obviously constructing sentences, but I don't feel like I hear her saying much more than 2 or 3 word sentences.
Maybe she just heard the emotion.
Okay.
Highway to Heaven Revisited will return after a brief intermission. This is the intermission. It is happening right now. Please subscribe to Highway to Heaven Revisited wherever you get your podcasts. That way, you will never miss an episode. Visit our website, highwaytoheavenrevisited.com, to listen to every episode of the podcast. While you are there, you will find links to our social media pages, contact information, and ways you can help support the show. If you enjoy the podcast, please consider supporting Highway to Heaven Revisited on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/Highway to Heaven Revisited to see the variety of special perks exclusive to Patreon patrons. Is your company interested in sponsoring Highway to Heaven Revisited? Please send an email to highwaytoheavenrevisited@gmail.com. Sam has been waiting his whole life to read your ads on the show. Intermission is over.
We're now at dinner, and we see Dad eating with chopsticks.
Everyone's laughing. They're eating with chopsticks. Not everyone's laughing. Mom, Dad, and Nguyen look like they're having a really good time. Sort of like cheesing, using the chopsticks. Dad spills food on himself, and they all laugh about it. We find out Nguyen has cooked dinner for them. Not because she had to, because she wanted to. Nguyen stands up and picks up some of the food platters and goes to serve Mom and Dad. And Mom, probably still stinging from the accusation of having gotten a free maid, says, oh, no, we don't serve each other here. We do for ourselves. And Nguyen explains that in Vietnam, it's a sign of respect to serve your elders, to serve your parents. So that's why she's doing it. To which Brad yells, well, this ain't Vietnam. Dad just gets mad at Brad.
For acting like a first-class jerk.
Mm-hmm. He just says, you're her brother. You're supposed to act like a brother. Brad's like, what?
I don't know what a brother... I've been an only child for 15 years.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do?
And we find out that Dad is expecting Brad to show Nguyen around at school tomorrow. And Brad's like, I got tests. I don't know. And I don't have time. And Dad's just like, you have to do it. You're her brother.
Okay.
It's not a good setup for either of them. And it just, dinner ends with Dad basically telling Brad, I think you should just go upstairs and study for your tests.
Well, what I liked was, he gets mad, yells at Brad, then Mom calms Dad down. She's like, calm down. This is difficult for everybody. And Dad's like, all right, fine. If you're done eating dinner, go to your room and study.
I feel like he said it a little more angry.
Well, if you're done with dinner, go to your room and study.
That seems right.
Gee whiz. These are some complicated family dynamics and, quite frankly, some very poor parenting, if I have to be brutally honest.
Yeah, it's tricky because they're so accepting and happy about this daughter, and yet their own son, it feels like they're kind of letting him down.
Well, they're setting him up for failure.
Yeah.
And it's not like, did they only have no time to figure this out, to think this ahead? I like them.
I do too.
And I understand Brad being upset.
This is a very similar situation to the Ronnie Blakely episode where her ex-baby daddy just told her daughter that she was dead her entire life.
Right.
And this is the same kind of parenting where it's just like, hey, Brad, we've been working on adopting your teenage half-sister for the better part of 1 or 2 calendar years. That's all done now. And she's come coming by tomorrow. This is what's happening.
I have to say, it is really easy to judge these parents.
These fictitious parents on this television program.
Right. Maybe they had long conversations about this, and maybe they really felt like this was the best decision. I can't quite see their logic.
Sure.
They had their reasons, and now it's just blowing up in their faces.
All right, so the next day, how happy is Brad at school?
Nguyen, Brad, and I just put her down as new girl, are walking together.
This new girl seems like the tour guide girl. How sometimes if there was a new student, you'd get one of like the good A students to show them around.
Let's just call her the class president.
The class president. And this girl seems really nice. She's going out of her way to help Nguyen, reassuring her, giving her good information, which made me feel a lot more secure, knowing that Nguyen had this girl to rely on and not just Brad. Until the class president says, okay, I have to go get my flute. I'll see you at lunch. And she just takes off. So what happens as soon as class president leaves?
Brad probably just deserts her in the hallway.
I mean, that would almost be better. But no, a group of guys comes up to Brad and Nguyen and starts harassing them.
Including Larry.
Oh, that's right. It's Larry and maybe Brad's friends.
From soccer. They come over to her and they're like, you're a G word.
They're trying to get her to
baiting
copy
her.
They're like saying, me, Jeff, in sort of
me,
pidgin
Jeff,
English.
you, G word.
Wow.
And so she's
some very creative racism going on.
She starts parroting it back to them.
She's calling herself it.
They're laughing, and she thinks she's making them laugh. And Brad tries to get her to stop. She doesn't know what's going on. Nguyen's saying, "Oh, it's okay. Don't get in a fight." She's
they
trying
can
to
call
make
me
things
that if
better.
they want. I can call myself that. That's fine. You don't have to be mad and argue over this.
Of course, she's just making everything worse.
And Brad's like, no, you don't get it. They're making fun of you. And he's just like, just shut up then. Just shut up. It's okay. Let's leave.
This show really takes some hot button issues and just like kind of
It is
punches them in the
interesting.
face.
Yeah, I agree.
The storytelling may either come across as over sentimental or heavy handed, I'm sure, at times during the show, but like this.
It's not overly sentimental.
I would have described the show as being very saccharine before I actually sat down and watched so much of this. The thing I liked about this scene that we have here, Brad's mad, but he doesn't abandon her. He walks off with her together. He's like still looking out for her, but he's been given a problem he can't solve.
There's a lot of layers to his onion.
Yeah.
He's emotionally handcuffed and wrapped inside of a burlap sack and
he's
tossed
like
in the river.
14 years old.
Yeah.
Which is just awful enough right there.
He's just trying to figure out a way to get a good dishwashing job 2 days ago. He was like, how can I get a good dishwashing job so I can buy a new model train?
Yeah, those were his biggest problems. We're heading back to the house. Mark is on his stepladder painting. We see Nguyen coming up the driveway, walking slowly, looking sad. And at this point, so Mark doesn't actually spill a bucket of paint on his head, but he pretends to get paint in his eye. And he comes down the ladder and asks Nguyen to grab him a rag. This is just his ploy to strike up a conversation with Nguyen. I think Nguyen might just jump right in.
Excuse me. Hey, could you hand me a rag? I got a little paint in my eye. Thank you. Oh, it burned to high heaven.
Mr. Mark, what means goop?
Where'd you hear that?
Goop.
School. Well, I guess it means, reckon it's, just a mean, spiteful word that should never be used. Whoever said that was just trying to hurt you. I mean, it's just a mean person.
I did not think there were mean people in America.
Yeah, well, there is, I'm sorry to say.
In Vietnam, I am this child. Government make my people scorn and hate me, so I want to come to America.
Dust child, what is that?
It means I am part American. I am different. I am of no more value than dust under your feet. All my life, I am told I am American and not truly Vietnamese. But when I come here, I am called Gook, not American. I do not know what I am.
You're a human being, that's what you are. You're a good human being who has a right to live and be happy like everybody else. But you gotta be brave. It takes a very brave person to realize that she has that right and to take it.
the real thesis of this whole episode is how they can like make a difference and change people's mind about racism towards Hmong people.
Yep.
This is great. Okay.
Yeah, I know, this is pretty heavy. We are going back to the hotel room, and Mark has brought some groceries back, and he's brought one of your favorite meals, or close to it, right, Joel?
Yeah, very close to it.
Is it the fancy grilled cheese from Sonic?
No, he's got
wish.
a brown paper grocery bag. He's like, I got salami, I got some types of cheeses, I got some French bread. Oh, John, you're gonna love this.
You ever had charcuterie before?
Right. I mean, like, if you just cut up some tomatoes and brought basil, that's my favorite thing.
Is it just Mark and Jonathon?
Just Mark and Jonathon, but Jonathan's thoughtful, and he doesn't want any food. And Mark says something like, I know you don't need anything, but don't you ever just get a taste for something? Jonathan says, no, I'm fine.
But I also brought you angel food cake.
I brought you something I thought you might like.
And he says, well, that was nice of you. And then he looks out the window, and it cuts back to him, and his eyes are filled with tears.
He looks so sad.
Wow. Well, I am glad that Mark asked him, don't you ever get a taste for something? So he's addressed one of those questions about whether or not Michael Landon can even eat. But Michael Landon is too pensive to eat tonight.
Yes, that's clear.
Mark's just like, man, you haven't said anything all night. What's going on? John says, I'm just thinking about people.
Just thinking about people. Oh, they must be a big disappointment to him sometimes. I created something capable of loving and caring, and it turns into something it hates for no reason.
Why does he let him get away with it? I mean, why doesn't he punish him?
I don't know. For his children, maybe he feels they should learn by their own mistakes. Besides, punishing people never really changes.
Sure like to punish those two kids that hit Nguyen today.
I know how you feel, but in a way, they punish themselves. People who hate never really feel any peace inside. It's a sickness worse than any plague this world has ever seen. The sad part of it is the cure is inside every one of us.
What is it?
Love. Simple, isn't it? Just love.
Highway to Heaven home run.
Dang.
Yep.
Okay, so Michael Landon has given us a great, insightful sermon on the scourge of racism. Are we on to more racism in the neighborhood or at school?
We're going to carry it onto the soccer field.
We haven't had any racism with our sports. The last time we were in the sports zone, it was very positive.
Yeah. So we're back on the soccer field. We see Brad and Larry. They're scrimmaging against each other. And it looks like Larry pushes Brad down on purpose. Then we see Nguyen walking by the soccer field and waving at her dad. Dad waves back at her. And the next thing I know, Brad and Larry are like on the ground, full on fighting.
Larry started it.
Dad breaks up the fight and
Just a random dad from the neighborhood?
dad whose name I can't remember.
Where's the other
coach,
dad coming
the
from?
coach.
Oh, so the coach, Brad's dad isn't the coach.
Brad's dad is the coach. Sorry,
Yeah.
that got confusing there.
Okay, Brad and Larry are fighting. Isn't Larry the dad? Wait, no, Larry's the friend.
Right.
Okay, so father and son are not having a fist fight.
I love getting these mental images, though.
So father didn't actually push Brad down.
No, they weren't scrimmaging.
No, the two neighbor boys, former best friends, are fighting. And Larry, whose dad was killed in Vietnam, is the one who pushed over Brad.
Yes.
Larry is now getting blamed for the fight by Brad's dad.
And Brad's dad has some other stuff to add, too. He's like, I don't know what your problem's been this week. You've been late.
For practice, insubordinate. You've just all around had a bad attitude, Larry.
I want you off this team.
I'm kicking you off the team.
And Larry's like, I didn't want to be here anyway because I'm a total racist now.
If you can fix your attitude, son, you can come back. And he's like, I'm not your son. My dad's dead, all right?
We know that, Larry. We know.
There are some chips on Larry's shoulders.
This is the thing that I like about Highway to Heaven is because the people in an HR video would just be mean and racist for no reason. They give the motivation.
I gotta hand it to you. This is some pretty smart storytelling.
It has been a pleasant surprise.
So we now are at the home.
Back at Brad and Richard and Mom, who I'm sorry, I don't know what her name is. Does she have a name? Mom is sitting with Nguyen. Nguyen's birthday is tomorrow.
Oh, God. God.
Right?
Okay. Nguyen's birthday's tomorrow.
Nguyen is sitting with mom and she's opening up an early birthday present. And the present is a picture of Nguyen's mom when Richard knew her. Nguyen says she's never seen her mom that young or that pretty or looking that happy. So Nguyen is very excited to have this picture. She's so excited that she actually runs over to Brad, who's like in the kitchen, and she wants to show Brad the picture. And she says, Brad, this is my mom. Look, this is my mom. Look how happy she looks.
I don't think she gets the reaction she hoped she would from Brad.
Oh, Brad's pissed. He pushes her aside and just walks up to his dad and he's like, you got to put Larry back on the team, Dad.
Why does he want Larry back? Why does he want Larry back on the team?
Because Larry's like family. Larry's like my best friend. He's like family, and everybody knows those people killed his dad.
This is so complicated. This kid, Brad, I don't even know what to say right now.
This seems like a pretty nice family, and so we have to assume they really were all trying the best they could and trying to make good decisions, and it just did not work out the way they wanted it to.
I honestly don't think they could avoid any of the scourge of racism in this small town. No amount of like pamphlets distributed at the church they all go to could have stopped the xenophobia from occurring, but the whole not telling Brad thing just has a tremendous effect of just like compounding so many elements on top of a situation.
Brad is really upset and he's yelling at his dad, and Dad is staying pretty cool at this point. He's trying to explain himself to Brad, which I totally get why he's doing that, but not the right moment. He's going into like, Vietnam was awful and I was really lonely and you didn't know what it's like. And Brad is not in a space where he can hear this.
And this is also probably information that Brad's dad hasn't shared up to this point anyway. It's like, oh, great. Now you actually want to talk about Vietnam, Dad? This isn't another thing you could have fit in the previous 14 years of my life?
I think this is just, for me, such a relatable example of where emotions are really heightened and one person is at a point where they can't hear and the other person is choosing that moment to be like, but I'm going to really try to explain and reveal these things that I've been holding back, and you don't respond right, and therefore I'm never going to do it again. And it gets a little bit worse. Son Brad has thrown these racial slurs at his dad. Dad actually slaps Brad and says, never let those obscene words come out of your mouth again. And then Brad runs off. So that's tough.
That's what happens.
Yeah, and that's why
it's pretty realistic.
That was the acid. Like, he starts throwing words around, and right then his dad just slaps him into the grandfather clock. He hits the grandfather clock, and the clock chimes.
Ooh.
I missed that detail.
That sounds like a Marx Brothers move.
Brad runs to his room, and as he runs to his room, we pass Nguyen's bedroom, and she's crying into the picture of her mom.
This is not a happy household.
It's not really good for a picture to get wet. Back when there used to be like analog
it's in a frame.
Photos.
It's in a frame, so it's okay.
Okay,
yeah.
So there is a moisture barrier.
Yeah, so that the picture is safe at least. Oh, all right, let's go back to school.
So we're back at school, and Brad goes up to Larry, and he's like, man, Larry, I was thinking about this last night. My dad's wrong. You were right all along. I hate this girl. She's not my sister. Larry's not buying it. He's like, if you actually hate her, you got to prove it. You're either with us or you're against us.
I think Larry's going to grow up to work in the George W. Bush administration.
This is exactly what it hit me. When they did that, I went, oh my gosh, I'm back. It's post 9/11.
So, of course, Nguyen comes running over. Everyone starts just hurling slurs again, just saying really mean things. Nguyen looks to Brad to help her, and he doesn't. He actually tells her everything was great until you came over. Go back to Vietnam.
Well, if we're not at rock bottom yet, we're getting pretty close.
This is all is lost. Nguyen runs away crying.
Of course.
Who wouldn't?
End of the school day, we're going to go back to the homestead. Brad and Larry have made up. They're out in the driveway shooting some hoops.
And we've got Mark and John, and they are finishing up painting the house, and Mark's just like, we haven't solved the problem, have we?
Yeah, they're packing up. They're done painting the house, so they're packing up to leave.
And Mark's like, I don't want to paint this house again.
Racism doesn't seem to have been banished from this household yet.
Nothing's gotten better. Jonathon just kind of says, like, give me a minute. And so Jonathon goes over to play some basketball. Picks up the basketball. Great shot.
Nothing but net.
Yep.
Angel magic.
And the boys are like, hey, you're pretty good. Why don't you come play basketball with us?
A little round of horse, maybe.
Larry introduces himself. Somehow Larry says his full name or says something about his dad.
I'm Jonathon Smith.
Larry Everett. I seen you working over at Brad's.
Larry Everett. Hey, your dad wouldn't be Sergeant Larry ever by any chance. 3rd Infantry?
Yes, sir. How'd you know that?
I'll be darned at it, I knew him. In Nam, we were friends.
You're kidding.
Larry, you need to come in now and do your homework.
We have some serious angel lying coming up here.
Okay, lay it on me. Let's go. We need some stuff.
Jonathon tells Larry that he served with Larry's father in Vietnam and that they were really good friends. They knew each other well.
3 lies in a row.
And what
We
I
don't
wrote
know his
in-
backstory, though. We still don't know.
Okay, maybe this is actually Jonathan Pryce's backstory.
Oh my gosh, it's possible. But okay.
I'm the leader of this cult. Joel.
I have in my notes at this point Larry's mom comes out of the house and I wrote, and Jonathon lies to her too.
Mom, come here. This guy, Mr. Smith, he said he knew Dad and Mom. They were friends.
Is that true?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Well, what an amazing coincidence.
Well, tell us about him, Mr. Smith. What was my dad like?
He was the best soldier I ever met. There's no telling how many lives he saved. He was a real hero.
He saved lives? Did you hear that, Mom? They should have given him the Medal of Honor or something.
Well, your dad wasn't the kind of hero they give medals to.
Why not?
Well, because his real fight was not on a battlefield. It was in the streets of Saigon.
That's where he was killed.
I know, on one of his missions. I tell you, son, your father would beg, borrow, or steal to help a bunch of Vietnamese kids that nobody wanted. Brought them food, clothing, medicine. Anything to keep his adopted kids from suffering another night of hunger or pain.
Larry and his mom are like, what?
Well, I heard he died on the streets of Saigon.
He died delivering powdered milk to the kids. He was trying to help these kids out, like running medical supplies, bringing them food, and that's how he was actually killed.
Your father gave his life so that kids like Nguyen could live.
How do you feel about that now, Larry?
I know how hard it is to lose a man like your husband, but when you look at someone like Nguyen, you know he didn't die in vain. He was quite a man.
Hey, I better skip that game of ball with you. My partner would get mad if I don't help him load up the painting supplies.
And
John.
then they're off. The episode's pretty much over,
They're
right?
actually just taking a really long time to pack up the station wagon.
Okay, it's either Jonathan Smith's origin story that I was there, I did serve with your dad, and I knew him well.
Right.
But those are probably 3 lies. But because of angel magic and infinite knowledge from the Supreme Being, that is the story.
Well, then, here's my question. Was that actually how Larry's dad died? Did Larry's dad actually care for all these kids in Saigon? Or is Jonathon and the big boss just making that up in order for the greater good of helping to lessen the racism of this small town?
I mean, it is a
And is that
well-placed
okay?
story that they
Yeah.
can't prove or disprove
Right.
because the involved parties are dead.
Right. I don't know.
They build up these storylines to like a fever pitch of
Yeah.
like a hatred sandwich, and then they're like, "Oh, we got 3 minutes left. What do we do? How do we wrap this up?"
I don't know how I feel about it.
Does anything else happen? Does Larry say anything, or does his face just change, showing us that he's probably going to be significantly less racist in the future?
Faces are definitely looking thoughtful. Larry does say at the very end of this scene, I never knew. But we're not quite to the end yet. We have a few more.
Okay, one more problem.
So we go back inside the house and the parents are getting ready for Nguyen's birthday party.
They have like a party set up. They have a cake and like a party banner and hats.
And the 2 boys walk in and ask if they can, participate in the party. Can they help out? And they say, that they're sorry for the way that they've been acting.
Which is all you can hope at this point.
They ask for a dad to give them another chance.
And dad says, thank you. Can you go tell Nguyen how you feel? And the mom and dad hug. Mom says, we're a family again. And out from the back room, we hear the son's voice yell, hey, Dad, come here. And we find out that Nguyen is nowhere to be found and there is a runaway note. Dad says, oh my goodness, well, I'm going to go to the bus station and I'm going to check to see if she's at the bus station. If not, then we'll call the police. Then the kids go out and see John. And John just tells them, hey, you know what? Hop in the car. I have a hunch.
Yeah, because they're still packing up the car. So boys hop in the car. Jonathon takes them to where he thinks she might be. And they all get out of the car at this destination. And Jonathon tells the boys, you start in that restaurant. And then the boys go in the restaurant. And Mark's like, where should we go? Should we split up? And Jonathon kind of gives him one of his little Jonathon smirks. And he's like, there's no need.
They're in the restaurant.
Obviously,
She's
I
in the restaurant.
pointed them in the right direction.
So they found her.
And Brad apologizes.
I know you ran away because of me. I don't blame you. I was rotten to you. I mean, all of a sudden it wasn't just me and my folks anymore. I was jealous, I guess. And I'm sorry. If you just give me a chance, I can show you that I could be a good brother and a good friend. So please forgive me and come home.
Do you mean that?
I sure do.
And she gives him a hug.
That's a sweet moment.
Yeah.
And in the background, John and Mark show up. Mark says, I love this job.
Jonathan says, so do I.
So then we're back home.
Is there one more scene?
One more scene.
So they're in the car. Mark's just like, hey, are we going in? John's like, no, we're done here.
Mark wants to go get some birthday cake.
Come on, we got a long ride ahead. I need some food. This mortal coil doesn't spring itself.
And John's like, no, we got to hit the road, man. We're going.
Mortal coil doesn't spring itself. I'm going to use that later.
And then right before they take off, there are some kids on bikes who go past, yelling some more slurs at the house. And they're yelling them over and over. And they bike past the car. And then John looks up at him, makes a John face, and they both crash off their bikes.
Nice.
And then John smiles and said, I probably shouldn't have done that.
It is a little against type. It is nice to see him get a little vindictive with the local youths, though.
Well, and that's what Mark says. I don't think he's going to mind at all.
They laugh, then the car drives past, and right after the car drives past, the kids get back on their bikes and start biking a little bit, and then crash again.
That's the ending.
Excellent. Well, that's a nice little comedic button on quite a heavy, complicated episode of Highway to Heaven.
Yeah, so this is the 11th episode.
Yes.
And they have really hit on so many different issues in this short amount of time.
This is a show that takes a lot of big swings at stuff. It's been very interesting to talk about it with you both.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the moral of the story today. There's a quote. I don't know how old it is, whether or not it's a modern quote or an ancient proverb, but the saying goes something like, be nice to everybody you meet because they've lived an entire lifetime before the moment you met them.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole thing. Everybody's got circumstances, no matter where they came from. And this is an anti-war piece. This is an anti-racism piece. The moral of the story is war is bad. Racism is bad.
I think what happens is you don't have to dig very hard into anyone's life, no matter how successful, to find a deep vein of tragedy. And that tragedy causes a lot of problems for people. And a lot of times we are just tackling those problems and not the source of them. I feel like the lesson in this episode is beauty is more than skin deep.
I like yours better than mine, Joel. Your lead up was way better on yours, too. So far, you're winning. You want to try to top that one, Rachel?
No. No, it's just,
I don't know.
end show. Thanks for listening, everybody.
I think you made a great point right there, Joel, and I'm not trying to take that away from you. All right, before we get out of here, we got to talk about the Michael Landon factor. So, Season 1, Episode 11, Dust Child. On a scale of 1 to 10 Michael Landons, what is the Landon factor?
This is where it gets a little tricky for me because it was a very effective episode and very moving in a lot of ways, but was the Michael Landon factor high? You know, there was the whole Mark getting flipped upside down thing, but Jonathon said he didn't do that. So that was not Michael Landon.
Oh, yeah. So
That
I
was
guess
the
we
big
can't
boss.
contribute that to the Michael
No.
Landon factor.
Because that was wonderful, but that was not Michael Landon's work. What else did he do?
There was some car trouble.
There was a little car trouble.
There was ladders that magically appeared on the car.
There was jumping ahead 400 miles
400 miles.
in
Yeah.
the car
There
at
was
the
some
very start.
light teleportation.
And there was just a lot of heart.
He had a heck of a monologue in the middle somewhere
yeah,
there.
that was really nice. I am gonna go with 7.5.
7.5. All right. What about you, Joel?
The Michael Landon effect for me, when he's putting on the charm that only Michael Landon has. I think when he shows up at the house in his low-cut blue V-neck shirt in the middle of the night saying, hey, I'm just a house painter here with my friend. Will you give us a job? Highly Michael Landon effect.
So you were a big fan of the persuasion.
When he goes out shopping with the mom and Nguyen, he's putting on the charm. And the sadness that he feels, very soulful. I'm going to go with a 7.
All right. So Season 1, Episode 11, Dust Child. Overall Michael Landon factor of 7.25. If you disagree with that, please give us a call on the Hotline to Heaven. That number is 612-356-2495 or 612-FLOBIZ5. Any final thoughts before saying goodbye? folks?
I'm just going to continue to encourage people, go watch the show.
Yeah.
I don't think
Yes.
you'll regret it. As enjoyable as it is to listen to us talk about the show, give it a viewing.
Completely agree. I went into it thinking that this would just be a saccharine thing that I would just be making fun of and just having a fun time riffing on it. And it just seems to be the salve that's keeping me together these days.
Yeah, I mean, all joking aside, I think our What Would Jonathon Smith Do? We need a little more of that.
Yeah, this has got a lot of overarching themes of social justice, and it's been pretty interesting for me as well to explore those with you. Well, thanks for joining me once again over here, Rachel and Joel. I look forward to exploring the next storylines as they unfold. Thanks for listening, everybody. See you soon.
Bye, Jerry.
Next time on Highway to Heaven Revisited.
I could have your job.
You wouldn't want it. Trays are heavy.
Highway to Heaven Revisited is the galaxy's only podcast offering a comprehensive view of Michael Landon's classic 1980s television series, Highway to Heaven. Do you want to watch along with Rachel and Joel? Highway to Heaven is streaming almost anywhere. Check your favorite streaming platform to see if it is available. Please follow Highway to Heaven Revisited on Instagram. That's at Highway to Heaven Revisited. Do you have a question or comment for the hosts or moderator? Call the Hotline to Heaven. The number is 612-356-2495. That number again is 612-FLOW-BIZ-5. Your message might be played on the show. Or send the show an email at highwaytoheavenrevisited@gmail.com. Your message might be featured on the show. If you have time, please rate and review Highway to Heaven Revisited on iTunes. If you like this podcast, please share it with a friend. Theme music composed by Brian Just. Thank you for listening, and be sure to join the gang for the next episode. Highway to Heaven Revisited is a Channel 3 TV production.